Welcome everyone to another episode, and in today's cooking tutorial, we're gonna go over how to make omelets. Two types of omelets, as a matter of fact. We're gonna be focusing on two types of omelets. The first one that we're gonna be doing is the country omelet. The country omelet is the typical omelet that you would order like at a diner or a restaurant. It usually has a very large curd, usually has a lot of fillings. The second omelet that we're gonna be doing is the French omelet. The French omelet has almost zero curds, is usually one homogeneous color, usually yellow, the color of the yolk, because it's beaten and mixed in so well and very well incorporated, and is extremely smooth, velvety, and some people would probably say a little bit undercooked, which is how I like them. Let's start with the country omelet. We're gonna use 3 eggs in a large bowl, pepper, butter, a slice of American cheese, and an 8 to 10 inch skillet pan. Let's crack these eggs in a large bowl. As you can see, I've got a very large bowl, probably a lot bigger than what I actually need for these eggs, but it's always best to use a large bowl. That way, as you're whisking, you're not worried about eggs getting all over your kitchen and all over your clothes. And then while I'm doing that, I'm gonna go ahead and crack in some pepper, because that's what we do, we add pepper to our eggs. While we're mixing that and whisking it, let's go ahead and get our 8 to 10 inch skillet on the heat. I got it here on our induction stove. I'm gonna set the temperature to about medium high. And while that's starting to get heated up, I'm gonna go ahead and add my butter in there. That way our eggs don't stick. And let's go ahead and do that. And once our butter is completely bubbled, you'll see those bubbles start to rise and starting to melt. Go ahead and give your eggs couple more whisks right before you add them, and let's go ahead and add them into the skillet. And once they hit that skillet, let them settle, let them set for about, 20, 30 seconds. And then what you're gonna do is you're gonna take I have a rubber spatula, and I'm gonna go ahead and take my rubber spatula, and I'm gonna go ahead and do what's called like the drag and fill method. So I'm tilting the pan, and I'm using that rubber spatula and dragging so the egg moves to one side, and actually the omelet moves to one side and the eggs kind of run down and fill in. And I'm gonna keep doing that, moving and tilting. That way the entire bottom of the pan is completely covered in egg. Once I have that, I'm gonna go ahead and let the egg settle for a little bit. Maybe about 15, 20 seconds. Once it's set and once I think it's ready to go, it's time to flip. You can use a spatula, you can use a rubber spatula, or you could use the old wrist technique and flip it as I'm doing here. The point is you wanna make sure that your egg is flipped to the other side and starts cooking. You are not going to cook the egg for nearly as much time as you did the first side. You're only gonna cook it on this side for about 20 seconds. Once that's cooked, I'm gonna go ahead and take my slice of cheese, and I'm going to place that on the opposite side of the handle, as you can see here. Then what I'm gonna do is slide half of that omelet onto my plate, and once that half is on my plate, I can now use my hand and use the pan and use that to kind of flip the rest of that omelet over on itself, and voila. I now have my country omelet. Now let's get started on our French omelet. Our French omelet's a little bit different. The ingredients, everything are just the same. We're gonna go ahead and mix 3 eggs in here. 3 eggs is a perfect amount for an 8 to 10 inch skillet. Go ahead and beat those eggs like we normally did previously with the country omelet. Add some cracked pepper. And while that's going, we're gonna go ahead and turn on our heat. However, if you did make an omelet before, you wanna make sure that you clean that skillet really, really well. So what I like to do is I like to grab a paper towel, maybe wet it a little bit, and clean that skillet, that pan off really, really well, because you don't want anything in there that's gonna make your eggs stick, especially with the French omelet. So let's go ahead and start heating up our pan, get some butter in there. I actually use half a tablespoon of olive oil and half a tablespoon of butter. That way I have the best of both worlds with a French omelet. And at the same time, my heat is nowhere near as high as a country omelet. So for this one, I'm only going about medium to medium low. And once I start seeing the bubbles come up from the butter and the oil start to heat up, then I'm gonna go ahead and give my eggs one last really, really well whisk before I pour them into the pan. What you want is those eggs all one solid color, yellow. I'm gonna go ahead and pour those in, and while that's actually setting, I'm going to only let it do that for about 10 seconds. Once that's done, I'm gonna grab the skillet and grab my rubber spatula and absolutely scramble those eggs. As you can see, I am scrambling, scrambling, scrambling. You wanna make sure you move that pan really vigorously with one hand while you're scrambling with the other. And at the same time, as the eggs start to set around, you wanna kind of take that spatula and scrape them all off the edges because you don't want that settling. And do that over and over and over. And after about 40-45 seconds, you're gonna start to see the eggs set on bottom. When that starts to happen, you can then take your spatula and kind of spread the egg mixture evenly over the pan and then leave it. Leave it for about 15, maybe 20 seconds tops. And then at this point, this is what differentiates the country omelet from the French omelet. You're gonna grab that skillet, you're gonna tilt it, and you're gonna use that rubber spatula, and you're gonna carefully fold that omelet over on itself. You do it little by little, adjust if you need to, and what you want is you want that omelet flipping over almost like a rug on itself slowly. And once you start getting to the end, you're gonna have to like lift and tap that skillet so that it starts to kind of come up on itself. That way you can get that last fold over itself. Once you have that, you can then flip the entire thing very carefully so that that bottom seal kind of sets on the bottom of the pan. And as you can see here, there's like no curds on this. It's a very, very smooth, uniform egg mixture. And after about 10-15 seconds, after that bottom seal has set, go ahead and carefully transfer that onto a plate and start kind of shaping it. You want it to kind of look like an oval, like a football. And there it is, ladies and gentlemen. You have your French omelet, and if you were to cut into that, very creamy, almost undercooked, but very velvety, especially with that olive oil and that butter mixture. It's really velvety, really good. And now you have your French omelet. This is going to take a lot of practice. So what I suggest you do, call your friends and your family over and practice while feeding them at the same time. And guess what? If you mess up, scramble them up and make a bunch of scrambled eggs. So there it is, ladies and gentlemen, how to make a country omelet and how to make a French omelet. Oh, and by the way, if you like to add like meat and vegetables to your country omelet, you would actually just saute those in the butter before you add the egg in. So same thing, continue that same process, but that's the difference. Those are your two omelets, ladies and gentlemen. Enjoy. Make sure you comment, like, and subscribe to this video and to this channel. Make sure you turn on those notifications. That way you get notified when a new video is published. And make sure that you are also subscribed to the EdTech Bites podcast if you're not already done so. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, remember that the best conversations happen when we break bread with great people. So let's cook together and eat together. Buen provecho.